today, and the reason that the Foreshore Protection Group and a lot of the community have got together is basically to protest and let people know that the town of Brunswick Heads is basically under attack by privatisation.
It was Don Page who first brought this scam to my attention between the New South Wales state government and this network of public servants. And he explained to me the danger of how they would take possession of it, isolate all the community, and eventually become the property of the state governments so they could sell it or lease it to people like North Coast Holiday Park and other similar things. He said, when we gain power in Parliament, we will rectify this, we will dismantle it so that it'll come back to the local people. That was an election promise in government. They've gone to water.
I am a local, all I need is to be free.
I'm Jim Bolger and I'm from the New South Wales Crown Holiday Parks Trust, and I'm here today to provide information on plans and management that are on exhibition for the holiday parks and for the Crown Reserves of Brunswick Heads.
The parks were taken out of Council's control in 2006 or 7, I can't remember the year exactly, and they were taken because we supposedly weren't managing them correctly.
Yeah, what we're basically planning is to upgrade the holiday parks, to make better facilities for the holiday makers, and to improve access in Massey Green in terms of entrance, managing traffic control and so on, and then to provide upgrades to the local reserves to ensure that there's foreshore access around local reserves and community reserves for people of all abilities to be able to use.
One of the issues that most of the people in Brunswick have is that in this section here, they plan to build a 500 square metre deck. I mean, as you can see, this is where people sit on the grass, play, the kids play. They won't be able to do that now because of the decking. What some people suspect, and I'm one of them, is that that's going to be a commercial area for a coffee shop.
I own a business called the Brunswick Buccaneers. I hire boats and canoes, kayaks for the last 15 years. The proposal for the deck, they just delete me off the map, They send me a letter, like you evicted, after 15 years, you evicted. Luckily I find out, hey, you can't evict me from where I'm not, because my contract was on land on the Benners Park, and I'm that far away from Benners Park, my ramp, And then they said, but people are walking through the stairs to your, and now they're saying that they're not allowing people to walk through the park to my boat. Not that they're evicting me. I said, put a fence. They wouldn't dare putting a fence around the boat. So at the moment I've done a petition, and I already got more than 2,500 signatures.
So I've been here 22 years, and I came here when this town was a beautiful village. It's still just hanging on by its toenails to a beautiful village feel, but I'm really, really scared about what this government department is going to do.
Well, here you see the open access, the buffer between the river, so people can walk through. This is what it should be like the whole way through the park, but unfortunately it's not going to be like that. They propose to actually fence off the caravan park here. There'll be gates here, but the public won't be able to access the river or walk the 3-kilometre walkway that goes from one end of town to the other.
Much more sensible to have a foreshore walkway quite separate from the park along the riverbed than trying to force people, which is an OH&S nightmare, to send your kids through the park on the roads, which are narrow and congested, instead of having a separate pathway for the public.
What they propose is that they're saying that they will give foreshore access, not during school holidays, only during business hours, and they can basically close it off whenever they like. These are the cabins. There's 10 of these at the moment, which the holiday park has got, and they've been pushed back 10 metres from the foreshore, which is what they're supposed to be, and that's what we're asking them to do with the rest of the campsite, because as you see just up here where the caravan starts, that's where the foreshore is blocked, And that's the illegal occupation of the foreshore.
The only things that are along this foreshore were buildings or permanent sites that were there prior to the trust even having it. They were there when
They're not
council.
legal.
They were there when council.
Doesn't matter, they're not legal now.
So we're in the
You should fix it. Why should you just allow?
Why don't you fix it?
Why don't you fix this problem? Because
They
if the
want that for
riverbanks
cabins.
eroding, it's a high risk. It's a high risk for your clients.
Michelle, they want that. They want those sites for cabins.
Yeah, of course.
They're letting them stay because that means they've got that for cabins.
And he's also going to lease it out, fence and gate it, and then have this long-term commercial leasing. So
And that's what we're trying to tell them, to get back off the foreshore so this walkway can go from one end of town to the other like it used to for 80 years.
This is my home, on the terrace at Brunswick Heads. It is a house where I was actually born. I'm well into my 80s, and as a school child we wandered all through the public reserve and we looked after it. We cared for it. It was part of our duty as school children to protect and to preserve the natural environment. They want to fence it, they want to keep us out and tell us that we're trespassing. Every tree there is tagged. I made inquiries once why they're tagged, and I was informed they're on death row.
At the moment, we can walk 20 metres across to the river, and so can all the neighbours, to swim in the river, to walk our kayaks in there. The kids can swim there and play there. If they fence this off, half of Brunswick Heads, instead of being able to walk metres to the river, is going to have to walk 7 blocks or 8 blocks to launch their canoes or to get in the river to have a swim. And that is what outrages the community.
Just up here there was a magnificent midden when we were children, where the Aboriginal people must have, because of the south arm of the Brunswick River must have provided much food for the Aboriginal banquets, and they'd met here. And there were oyster shells and pippy shells and crabs. You couldn't jump over it. Now it has all been ruined with their slashes, and that it is only shell grit. It is still there, and it would break your heart to look down and see just absolute shell grit just through this vandalism.
Well, the state government appoints a trust board, which is the New South Wales Crown Holiday Parks Trust Board. They are given the power under the Crown Lands Act to manage and improve and look after essentially various Crown reserves across the state.
This trust, which is in control of Crown land which is supposed to be public purpose recreation, public access, equity of use, conservation, environmental protection, and commercial neutrality. Is it right that the new chairman is a property developer? The other board member is a commercial lease expert, ex-Bunnings, and the other board member is the lady from Mars Food. All commercial interests. What do they offer the principles of Crown land of environmental protection, equity of access?
Well, the board members that you talk about, and they are commercial people, I agree, were appointed by the state government. I had nothing to do with the recruitment of who the board members are, and you need to ask the state government who recruited them what their purpose was in allocating those 3 people.
Well, what do you think it would be for? Well, commercial lease expert, what do you think?
Well, no, I know that's whether he's a commercial lease expert, I don't know, to be honest. No, I know he works for Bunnings, so whether he's commercial leasing or not, I'm not
his
sure.
resume. I mean, does that mean that you're going to commercially lease all these properties once they're...
Not at all.
So the state will lose them? You don't think that they're going to be going out to private enterprise?
No, I don't. There's conflicting views on that, and there's a lot of passion in the area for things that may be changing or are proposed to change. You know, and this is what this process is about. It's about getting the feedback and seeking submissions from those people so that we can feed that information back to the state government.
I just don't like the idea that residents are going to have restrictions on public Crown land when they can access that. I don't think that's fair, especially as a resident who's lived here. I know I'm only 25, but I've lived here my whole life, so have my parents.
We want that walkway along the riverside that's been there for 80 years to be back in public hands. Why aren't you doing that?
We understand what the community wants, and we've got conflict. We're managing this not just for the local community, for the community, for everyone in New South Wales, and for a lot of tourists that come here and use this area as well.
Yeah, and we shared it with them for the last 50 years.
That's right, and we continue to share it.
You're not sharing it with the locals anymore.
This is to show you, 2010 he tried it, 2012 he tried it, and now this is 2014, so they really don't take no for an answer. It's just a real burden on the community to have to keep getting out here, rallying this level of support, to keep fighting the same thing over and over again.
I've been here 10 years now, so 2004 this was going on then. Obviously council themselves had some non-compliance issues, and we were getting a plan of management ready to actually fix up those compliances when the parks were taken from us. Some of the reasons quoted that they took them off us are some of the very reasons that we feel that they're not actually fixing up, even though they accused us of being non-compliant.
These cabins on the side here, there's about, I think there's 8 or 9 that have long-term residents. And one of the main issues is that all of those cabins are actually encroaching on the riverbank. And now that the caravan parks are being totally redeveloped, what the residents want is to move those structures back, so once again the river is free and that they're not blocking public access to the foreshore. The plans show no intention to move those back, and again that 50 metres there of cabins are blocking the entire 3 kilometre of foreshore walkway. Most of those cabins are very easily moved back, they're portable. All they need to do is get moved 10 metres back into open spaces like you can see here, and the problem's solved. But unfortunately these plans don't address that, and that's mainly because the caravan park wants total access to the river because they can make more money out of riverside cabins than they can by moving people back, and that's the commercial entity who's trying to do that.
I've got here a copy of the park rules from 1991 that tell him that the sites and boundaries adjacent to rivers and waterways, and it says the closing of natural waterways in these areas is not permitted. Now Jim claims we have no claim on this is the Terrace Caravan Park rules, and then in 1998 I have a letter that was written by the Progress Association saying that they've obstructed the walkway with their caravan park sites and could they please remove them. And then here's the Local Government Act that says you must have a 10 metre setback to a public road or a 3 metres to any other boundary. So we're arguing that the foreshore boundary, there has to be a minimum of a 3 metre setback and a 10 metre building line. So no fixed structures, including permanent residents, should be within 10 metres of the riverbank.
Are they legal or illegal?
They're legal. They have a survey plan. The fact that the riverbank has moved over the years doesn't mean that the boundaries of the...
So the riverbank's moved, people haven't encroached onto it. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is they're not illegal. They've got licences issued by council to be on those sites.
You've moved the boundaries.
So they,
The riverbank has not moved.
so our intention is to rehabilitate the foreshore.
They're the Crown land assets, and they are not to make, big profit. If not, the Queen will sell it, and we all have here high rises, if we wanted big profit, We don't want it. We want the normal average person, that comes here every year. Because I'm doing the pirate boat, I see every year the same people coming here doing their Christmas holidays.
So there is a certain charm in Brunswick Heads, and I totally agree. So, and we're trying not to take that away from it. But we don't see the development as onerous in the local community reserves. However, if that's the way the community sees it, that's why we're here, to take those submissions and listen to those processes.
Council's here and the Crown are there, and the Crown will do whatever they want, at the end of the day. So what we want to do is negotiate the best outcome.
They're all making money out of it, so it has to. It's only the people and people power that'll stop it.